The cities of Sodom and Gomorrah were rich and full of life. People came from many places to live and trade there. The streets were always busy. There was music, laughter, and business everywhere. It looked like a good place to live. But behind all that, something was very wrong. The people had no respect for what was right. They did whatever they wanted, and no one cared anymore about good or evil. Sin became normal in the land. People hurt others without feeling sorry. The weak were ignored, and the poor were treated badly. Evil actions were done openly, without shame. No one tried to change. No one felt guilty. The city was slowly falling, but the people could not see it. Near the city lived a man named Lot. He was different from the others. He believed in doing what was right. Every day, he saw the evil happening around him, and it troubled him deeply. But he stayed there, trying to live a good life in a place that had lost its way. Then the time came when God looked at the cities. The cries of those who were suffering had reached him. The evil had become too much. God decided to act. But before judgment, he would give one last chance. One evening, two strangers entered the city of Sodom. They looked like ordinary men, but they were not. Lot saw them sitting at the city gate and felt something was different about them. He quickly went to them and begged them to come to his house instead of staying outside. At first, they refused, saying they would stay in the street. But Lot insisted strongly, knowing how dangerous the night could be. Finally, they agreed and went with him. Lot prepared a meal for them, and they sat together quietly. As night came, a strange tension filled the air. Then suddenly, loud voices were heard outside. A few men gathered, then more came, until a large crowd surrounded the house. Young and old, from every part of the city, they stood there shouting. They began to hit the door hard and demanded that Lot bring out the visitors. Their voices were full of evil desire. Inside the house, fear filled the room. Lot stepped outside and shut the door behind him. He begged them to stop and not do such a wicked thing. But they did not listen. Instead, they became angry and moved closer to attack him. They insulted him and said he had no right to judge them. They tried to break the door open. The situation became very dangerous. Suddenly, the visitors pulled Lot back inside and shut the door. Then something strange happened. The men outside were struck with blindness. They began to stumble and could not find the door, no matter how hard they tried. Still, they refused to give up. Inside, the visitors revealed who they really were. They were messengers sent by God. They told Lot that the city would be destroyed because of its great wickedness. Lot felt fear and shock. They told him to gather his family quickly and leave before it was too late. Lot went out to warn his sons-in-law. He told them to hurry and leave because God was about to destroy the city. But they laughed at him. They thought he was joking and refused to listen. Lot tried to convince them, but they did not believe him. As morning came closer, Lot still hesitated. His heart was tied to the city. He found it hard to leave everything behind. Seeing this, the messengers took his hand, along with his wife and daughters, and led them out of the city. It was an act of mercy. When they reached the edge of the city, the messengers gave a clear warning. They told them to run for their lives, not to look back, and not to stop anywhere until they reached safety. Lot was afraid and asked to go to a nearby town instead of the mountains. The messengers agreed and told him to hurry. Lot and his family began to run as fast as they could. Behind them, the city was quiet, but the air felt heavy. Then, as the sun began to rise, destruction started. Fire and burning sulfur began to fall from the sky. The ground shook, buildings caught fire, and cries filled the air. The city that once looked strong was now falling apart. Lot and his family kept running. The heat behind them grew stronger. The sound of destruction followed them. They remembered the warning and did not look back. But Lot's wife began to slow down. Her heart was still in the city. She thought about her home, her memories, and everything she was leaving behind. Even with the warning, the desire to look back became too strong. Then, in one moment, she turned and looked back at the city. Instantly, she became a pillar of salt. She stopped where she stood, frozen forever. There was no second chance. Lot noticed she was gone, but he could not stop. The danger was too great. He continued running with his daughters until they reached the small town safely. From there, they looked back from a distance. The cities of Sodom and Gomorrah were completely destroyed. Smoke covered the land. Nothing was left. Far away, Abraham looked toward the land and saw the smoke rising. He understood what had happened. He had prayed for the city, but now the judgment had come. Lot and his daughters were safe, but their hearts were heavy. They had lost everything. The memory of that night stayed with them forever. The land remained empty. No one returned. It became a warning to others. People spoke about what happened and remembered the lesson. The cities were not destroyed without warning. They had many chances to change, but they refused. They chose their way until it was too late. This story is a reminder that nothing is hidden forever. What people choose every day matters. There is a time to change, but that time does not last forever. Some people are not destroyed because they were never warned. They are destroyed because they refused to listen.